It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Oh, yes, it does. And great to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of the show. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Conversation with Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Get into it with him on all the latest from the NBA, including Tyrese Halliburton's game winner last night. Oh, how cool was that? We'll have some thoughts on that. Also, Ryan Ballengee, our friend from Golf News Net, will drop by, talk about Tiger Woods' torn Achilles. And who knows how long he'll be out of action with that. We'll also get into the Players' Championship, get some thoughts on Scottie Scheffler trying to win his third in a row. But we start things out in the NFL. And if it's a Wednesday, this dude is here. He's a dude. Vlad Louissaint, WQAM radio in Miami, hangs out with us on Wednesdays on the show, and he is with us today as well. Thank you, my friend, as always. All right.
No problem.
Let's.
No problem.
All week it's been the NFL dominating the early part of this show. And I thought we'd get to some of the latest because the news is breaking fast and furious. We still don't know where Russell Wilson's going to land. We still don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going to land. Now, by the time you see this show, who knows? There might be decisions that have been made on that front. It feels like one is going to wind up with the Giants and one's going to wind up with the Steelers. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it right now, Vlad. You could tell me if I'm wrong. We'll get back to that in a moment. Joey Bosa, who Nick Ferguson, friend of ours, Vlad, you know him, of course, from our NBC Sports days. Nick Ferguson came on the show, and I asked him, what's a good landing spot for Joey Bosa? And he said, on the couch next to me. Well, apparently the Buffalo Bills didn't feel the same way, and they decided to sign Joe. I know, it was a pretty funny one from Nick.
That was great.
Instead, the Bills signed him, and they didn't just sign him. They gave him a lot of money, Vlad, for a guy that, it almost feels...
it's a one-year deal.
I know, but it's a one-year deal for a lot of money for a guy that, really hasn't produced a ton here over the last few years, has been injury prone. It almost feels like a better behaved version of Von Miller.
You could say that, and younger, but you're only doing it for 1 year. He's also in a show improve. All these deals are going to be short. Page for many reasons. One, it saves the team and also gives the player an opportunity to get another bigger, longer contract in the near future. So signing guys like Joey Bosa, which I thought maybe there was a move, he was possibly going to go with his brother to San Francisco.
I did too.
But he's probably, he could have gone home. He could have came to South Florida and played with the Dolphins as well. But he went to Buffalo. Buffalo's always got an opportunity to contend for a Super Bowl. So it's a pretty good deal. And it's a deal where he probably knows he could get as many plays as he can. Because like you said earlier, he's been banged up throughout a Pro Bowl career. But in games that the Chargers would have needed him, he's always been banged up.
I'll tell you what it also tells me. And I talked about this earlier in the week with Sam. The Bills need to address the pass rush. Because the one thing they can't do is get to Patrick Mahomes. And everything the Bills have to do right now has to be geared towards figuring out how to beat the Chiefs, because that's the hill they haven't been able to climb so far. So to me, this is an admission by them that we've got to do everything we can. And it also tells me that if Myles Garrett had truly been available, they probably would have been in on him, trying to get him. If Trey Hendrickson had been available, or is available, they may try to get him. Like, they know what they need to address right now, and it's the pass rush.
He's absolutely, well, obviously, this is a copycat league, so everybody saw what Philadelphia did with the four-man rush that, pretty much destroyed Kansas City's offensive line. And if you have a pass rush, you can get a pass rush with four men, you have four down men, it makes your job easier as a defense. So, yeah, getting a Joey Bosa is going to probably help because he's younger, maybe not as washed as Von Miller is, but you re-signed Gregory Rousseau, which is a great pick. Which was one of the Bills' best selections, and he's shown he's a great pass rusher. So, yeah, they definitely trying to shore up that defensive line because, yeah, like you said, and which is weird because Kansas City's offensive line has been one of their weakest points, but against the Bills, the Bills can never get a pass rush on Pat, and if they do, Pat's able to escape and extend plays or gain yards up the field and beat them. So
sure,
it's a very good move. It's a good move.
Yeah, look, again, it isn't a ton of money. I think it's like just under $13 million. Right,
12.5. So it's not hurting you. It's not like a 4-year 120 that you gave a Von Miller that hurt you.
And prove it deals are always. I always say, give me a guy who just got released, who's feeling motivated. You might get 1 year out of him.
Let me ask you this, Paige, real quick. Bosa or Hassan Reddick? Who would you have taken?
Oh, boy.
Because Hassan Reddick just got $10 million from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we know how much of a ish show it was in New York and him holding out and everything, but yet pass rushers are such a premium position that you're willing to pay.
I hate to ride the fence on, but honestly, I think you're probably in the same spot with either of those guys.
And they both got over $10 million.
Yeah. Switch gears. Ravens go and sign DeAndre Hopkins. And look, he doesn't have to be DeAndre Hopkins of 5 or 6 years ago. He's just another weapon that other teams have to think about here, Vlad, when you look at this dynamic dynamic Ravens offense.
I love Nuke. I love D-Hop. But this is another place where the Ravens are looking like the New York Knicks in the early 2000s. Where superstars or former stars just go and, lay. Odell Beckham.
I think Hopkins has a little more left in the tank than Beckham does, though.
Wasn't Des Bryant a Baltimore Raven as well?
For a few minutes.
Yeah. Nuke looked good in the beginning with Kansas City, but if you notice towards the end, he was not a factor. It was more Xavier Worthy, obviously Kelsey. So I don't know if Nuke has that much juice left.
Yeah.
Can he help? Yes, but is he supposed to? Because right now, if you look at that Baltimore receivers, Zay Flowers is your number one, right?
Yep.
You need a number two. It should have been Bateman. He shows when he's healthy, he can make some big plays. You still have Mark Andrews minus the drop in the playoffs.
Isaiah Likely is still. You still got Likely.
You got Isaiah Likely, right? So where is Nuke really going to fit in that group? If he's, is he going to be the number 2 or number 3 receiver? And if he can give you maybe something, that's great. But it seems like that's just a place where wide receivers go.
Yeah. Again, though, nothing to lose on it. If you're the Ravens, you have nothing to lose. I don't have a problem with it. We'll do some more NFL on the back end of the show and odds and ends, update people on the latest. Ryan Ballengee talks golf next. Kurt Helin later in the show. We continue. Thanks for being with us on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Tomorrow on the show, Patrick McEnroe to talk tennis. We got the BNP Paribas going on out in the desert, the unofficial 5th major of the tennis season. Well, the unofficial 5th major in golf is the Players' Championship, which we will talk about in just a moment with this guy, Ryan Ballengee, who does a great job with Golf News Net, friend of the program. Check him out over there. And I was planning to talk to you about the Players and do a preview on the Players, but it turns out we also have some Tiger Woods news to talk about, because it wouldn't be a golf day without Tiger Woods news. So he tears his Achilles working out. Is it the same Achilles he tore previously, by the way?
I'm pretty sure that it is. Okay. I didn't look that up. It's the left one.
All right.
And yeah, he just kind of said, "Hey, I've been trying to get ready to come back to the PGA Tour in whatever capacity it was going to be for the Masters and maybe whatever else." And ruptured it getting ready and had surgery on Tuesday, and there goes 2025.
Is it going to cost him those things? Because we saw Bernard Longer come back from this after 3 months, but he was able to use a cart.
Longer's injury
are we talking about the same sort of
severe.
Thing? Oh,
Longer's injury was a little less severe, so his surgery was also cutting edge, and as you know, the recovery time for these things has improved vastly. But it was interesting to hear Rory McIlroy talk today, and he talked about Tiger's injury, and obviously they're close with the TGL stuff and the board stuff of the PGA Tour. He said he's basically out for 2025. So I think the expected prognosis is we're not going to see him this year, at least during the major championship season. I mean, maybe it gets better by the time December rolls around. Hero World Challenge, father son, that type of stuff that we've kind of grown to expect.
I mean, how crushing is this, Ryan? I mean, it felt like we were on the verge of getting him back for at least more than just the majors this year, and now we're talking about another lost season. I mean, how much more of this can Tiger take?
That's a great question. I mean, the guy's been through so many injuries below the belt. I mean, between knees and ankles and legs and Achilles and tendons. I mean, knee scopes galore. He's kind of been through it all, and he's still standing, relatively well. Obviously not now with the ruptured Achilles, having had surgery on it, but it seems like he's kind of figured out a way to get through this over the years. Obviously, as you age, it gets harder to recover, gets harder to kind of have meaningful recovery as a result of that. So what speed does he lose? What kind of flexibility does he lose? What does that all look like? How tepid is he swinging a golf club? How long does that take? Langer, as you mentioned earlier, is probably the best analog, right? I mean, Langer's in his 60s, went back to the PGA Tour champions and won their season-ending event.
Amazing.
Five months after. I mean, so if a 60-some, almost a 68-year-old man can have an Achilles injury surgery and win again within the scope of half of a calendar year, then what's to stop Tiger Woods from, with a more serious injury, recovering within the calendar year and maybe playing competitively by the end of the year?
Yeah, and Langer is a bit of a freak of nature. If anybody's watching him, he's still competitive even in the Masters every year. He manages to be competitive. Talking about Ryan Ballengee, I've got some things to ask him about the players. We'll do that in just a moment. After a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Look, are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head, trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that could keep you in debt for decades. And you can do it with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates' debt relief program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. And what's that going to do? It's going to save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you could save right now by calling 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362, or just scan the QR code below. Players Championship. We've got Scottie Scheffler trying to win his third straight. My mom called me this weekend. She's a big golf fan. She watches every weekend. Doesn't matter. Unlike me, who only watch the big events, she watches every event on the weekend. She loves it.
Good on her.
And she keeps saying, "What's wrong with Scottie Scheffler, Jason?" And I mean, I'll ask you the same question. What's wrong with Scottie Scheffler? Is it just rehabbing and getting back to normal after the time off because of the wrist? What is it?
I wouldn't say anything's wrong. I mean, golf is a highly variable sport, right? I mean, winning is extremely hard. Winning 8-9 times in a calendar year is practically unheard of. So I think you kind of have to take what he did last year and almost set it to the side a little bit. Reduce your expectations. Say he's not going to do that again, probably in the calendar year, especially coming off the glass and the hand thing from Christmas. That led to some downtime. And just naturally kind of working your way into the year. He's still 2 tournaments behind, effectively, what he played last year schedule-wise. So the results have not been bad. I mean, pretty decent result at API, T11. Good result at Torrey for Tiger's event, which had to be moved from Riviera. T3 there. Those aren't bad finishes. They're just not wins for a guy that won a zillion times last year. I think expecting anything more than a good finish this week is probably a fool's errand, just because no one ever had repeated until last year. So the natural unprecedented would be to three-peat. I can't imagine that's going to happen here in a season where we've had no dominant player to date. We've had a variety of winners, international and domestic. We've had all kinds of different types of players win. So I don't think we've established who the top player this year is already. That's kind of exciting, but also that leaves the door open for Scheffler for when he's ready to take that mantle once again.
Can I throw a sleeper at you, by the way?
Sure.
And by the way, it's nuts, because in Vegas, Scheffler's the overwhelming favorite to win the Players, which is nuts to me based on everything you're saying to me, that he's 4-1 with this, with this kind of field. The next best is Rory at 11-1. You know who's had a really nice start to the season, and he's pretty prominent on social media, so I have to admit I follow him? Michael Kim's played really well despite not winning, and he's 75-1 this week. I kind of like a flyer bet on a Michael Kim, the way he's played over here over the last month.
Yeah, before I get to Michael Kim, I mean, Scheffler opened 5.5-1 in a bunch of books, so he's been bet down
That's
from 5.5 to 1, which that's crazy odds.
It is.
In golf terms to come down to that number, and people buy into it still. I saw Michael Kim the start of the week, a couple places 85-90 to 1, so some people have been paying attention. He's a little internet darling. He has been playing top 25 caliber golf last 45 days or so, and it has been really impressive to watch. It's by far the best stretch of golf in his career.
I only got 40 seconds. Who do you like? Give me real quick a rundown of who you like here.
Colin Morikawa strikes a chord with me. I think his game lines up very well with this place. I love Shane Lowry on tough tracks. Plays pretty well. I love Daniel Berger quite a bit. He's 60 to 1. He's been in good form, playing into good form. Loves Florida golf. Sepp Straka has played well literally everywhere this year. Already won this season, and yet still gets no respect from the books. He played well again last weekend. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find anyone longer than that. Last 6 years since this tournament has come back to March from May, no one longer than 30 to 1 has won this thing.
Ryan Ballengee, Golf News Net. I always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for coming on. Enjoy the players. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
We're coming back with Kurt Helin next. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. We go from golf to the NBA. Natural transition, of course. Let's talk about the top headlines around the league with our friend Kurt Helin. He is the Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, and he hangs out with us on the program. Get some thoughts with him on a number of items going on around the league. Hi, Kurt. How are you guys doing? What was that?
I mean, if you're doing the golf to NBA transition, you're just going straight to Steph Curry stories, right? Like, that's the easy.
I don't know. It sounds like he's more interested in being a college assistant GM now. Like, he doesn't have enough to keep busy. Seriously? Yeah. I mean, if I'm the Warriors and I see this, it's just, and I know he's Curry and he'll be there as long as he wants and the titles and but like, come on, man.
It's mostly ceremonial, to be fair. Like, what he really did, because he gets that role, so does some boosters you don't know the name of, because they set up an 8-figure fund.
Yeah.
They set up an 8-figure fund to go, give some NIL money to men's and women's basketball at Davidson so they can go get some people. So that's mostly what it is. But you know what he is also? Vlad, he's the closer, right?
Yes, that's what it is. It's to get recruits. It's 100%. He's the guy that's going to convince Vlad to go to Davidson. Good luck.
Don't knock Steph, okay? Woj can become the general manager at
St. Bonaventure.
Right?
St. Bonaventure's. Steph Curry could be the general manager at Davidson. You can go back to your alma mater. You
can always go home. Yeah, you can always go home. All right.
And be the general manager.
On your screen, you're going to see the game winner of game winners this year in the NBA, if you ask me. Tyrese Halliburton, the 4-point play last night in Indiana. They're going bonkers at the Fieldhouse as the Pacers figure out a way to beat the Bucks on that 3-point shot. Giannis fouling Tyrese Halliburton as he hits that game-winning 3. Boy, it was very Reggie Miller-esque watching that whole thing play out, Kurt.
First off, a leaning 3-pointer at full speed in the corner is... You're right. There's how many guys ever could have hit that shot? I mean, that is a crazy shot. And it's brilliant. And late closeout by Giannis, who took away his landing space, so it was a foul. I love that play. They've actually ran it against the Knicks. They've run it before. Everybody does that thing where they put one guy in the backcourt, right? And they throw the ball into midcourt, and they set a screen, and they try to get that player with momentum going forward. The Pacers admit, and there's a great podcast out about this from Caitlin Clark, they get a full head of steam with 4 guys. And they stole it from the NFL. It's like a four wide situation. Send the guy forward. And in this case, Halliburton's the guy on the right, kind of cuts behind the pick, essentially. The 3 guys sprinting down the floor and gets into the space. It's a great play design. It's so much fun. It's kind of worked both times.
I've seen that play worked a lot because what they'll do, we have 3 guys go to the backcourt and then have one guy just cut to the basket, and that guy's alone with the basket, and they get an easy 2. So that was a brilliant play. Kurt, for some reason, Jason mentioned Reggie Miller. To the Milwaukee Bucks, he's Reggie Miller, and Milwaukee is the New York Knicks. Like, I love this series. For the last 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, this has been a riveting rivalry brewing in the NBA, and they didn't get a chance to play. They did play each other, but Giannis didn't play last year.
Right.
I think if this is the 4-5 series in this year's Eastern Conference, I think this can be a 7-game series that can capture a lot of the fans' attention.
And it's setting up right now. Right now, when you look at the standings, it looks like they will be the 4-5. And this game matters. This actually tied them in the standings. So the Pacers have a shot at home court, which will, I think, matter. Because I'm with you. I want to see it. It'll just be fun. B, and they remember the Pacers knocked the Bucks out of the playoffs last year without Giannis. So they'd like a little revenge. That is a long, if everybody's healthy, that is a long grinding series. It would be a blast to watch.
Yeah.
And take the over.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the over in every game. I agree. If we're talking about wins for the Lakers over their next 6 games, and the over is and the total set at 2, we might be taking the under, because there aren't a lot of wins here over the next couple of weeks for this Lakers team when you look at the schedule, Kurt, and the fact of what we saw them do against the Nets without LeBron.
Yeah, they've got, a tough schedule coming up where the easy game is like, oh, they've got the Suns who actually are starting to play like, oh, hey, we should be serious about this, I guess. And so they've got tough games coming up, and without LeBron and everybody able to focus the defense on Luka and Reeves, their defense hasn't been as good and hasn't been as sharp. They just miss. LeBron did all the little things. This is still one of the highest IQ players we've ever seen, who looks at the game and says, oh, we need scoring tonight, I can do that. We need assists tonight, I can do that. We need defense, we need rebound, whatever it is. He's filled that role, and now it's a huge drop-off to whoever's next. It also speaks to concerns about the Lakers' future if you're trying to build that roster out around Luka and what you're going to have to get to make it work long-term. But for the short term, yeah, they could stumble in a middle of a tight West. Suddenly, they're the 2 seed going into this. They could come out of this the 5 seed, and it wouldn't be shocking.
Well, real quick, Kurt. Okay, the loss to the Nets, that was a bad. Austin Reeves had a terrible shooting night, and so did Luka. Luka has not shot the ball well ever since returning back from the injury. Second, this is a tough schedule. Like, they mentioned it before the schedule. Before the month of March came, that this was going to be a tough schedule because they had 17 games in 31 days, and they were facing Phoenix. They'll face Denver. They were facing the majority of the good teams in the league. My thing with the Lakers is this: they're not going to fall all the way back down. So, is it that you're trying to avoid OKC in any possible way to get to 2-3? And rather face Denver? Or would you rather face OKC in the second round and be a 4-5?
I will say this. I don't know internally, like the Lakers have obviously have their issues with Doncic, and they don't really have a good matchup for him. Not that who does, but Oklahoma City does not strike fear in the hearts of teams. Like I think they should. Like you would think their record indicates and they've got the MVP candidate. It's all there on paper. I will just tell you, I've had a conversation with multiple scouts now who have been like, yeah, they're a regular season team. I think they're not. Teams don't fear them right now. And I don't think the Lakers are going to shy away from, hey, we get them in the second round. Fine, let's go.
Wow.
No, because you know why, Paige? Because there's been losses. They've losses to teams in the playoff, like that 25-point loss to Minnesota. And then yesterday, the other day, to Denver.
Look, I said,
I'm scared of them.
I don't think the Thunder are one thing. We got to talk about the Cavaliers. They've won 15 in a row. Most disrespected team in all of professional sports right now. We're going to get to them next. Talk about the Knicks and the Jalen Brunson injury as well. Don't go anywhere. Let's take this baby to segment 3 and talk some more NBA. Kurt Helin has been bolted to the chair. He's not allowed to leave until he gives us at least 2 segments on the show. Vlad Louissaint. Vlad wasn't happy with me today because we started recording the show a little later than usual. He was so mad at me. Happens some days, man. It's a lot going on. But we love Vlad, our friend from WQAM radio in Miami, hanging out with us on the show as well on Wednesdays. All right. Jalen Brunson's injury. Boy, when it happened, it looked really bad. Yeah. They're calling it a sprain. They're saying just a couple of weeks. I'd give the Knicks the same advice I'd give the Lakers about LeBron, which is wait as long as you need to, but make sure that thing is 100%, because you need both of these guys to make deep postseason runs. I said yesterday on the show, Lakers should wait as long as they have to. The Knicks should do the same with Brunson, shouldn't they?
Yeah, you can't have this linger into the playoffs, and ankles are a little easier to predict, but they're also, as many of us know firsthand, right? If it's not all the way back, it's so easy to roll that thing again with one bad step.
Yeah.
And look, if you watch them, Vlad will be happy to tell you too, right, Vlad, their offense falls apart. They don't have.
They scored hold on. They just scored 133 against the Kings the other night.
It's not the same, Page. It's not the same.
I know it's not the same, but they can still score.
Sacramento's not a good defensive team in the first place. And second, Brunson holds the ball so much that he dictates the offense.
I agree.
He averages 7 or 8 assists. So if there's not a guy that can set the offense, it's really some.
You're asking a lot of Mikal Bridges right now.
Yeah, and OG.
But my point,
Cat's going to have some big games.
My bigger point, though, is if there is a team that the culture is built to withstand this. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated without him, but I'm saying if there's a team that's built from a next man up perspective, we saw him go through this with Randall last year. They can withstand this and at least tread water. The Knicks aren't going to fall apart the way we saw the Lakers fall apart.
No, but when they've done it in the past, there's been a more defensive team than you see now. Defense can carry over. Defense can carry you.
I think they've been a little better defensively lately.
Been mildly better, but they're not a good defensive team, so it doesn't hang the same way as it did in years past.
Well, you guys are doom and gloom.
For them is I don't think they're going to fall that far in the standings the way the East is set up, but they're going to struggle a little bit over the coming weeks, and they've got to get. You're right, man. I don't know how long he's going to be out.
I hear that he might. They say 2 weeks to reevaluate, but they might say they might hold him till the end of the season, and just have him healthy for the playoff. And I think that might be the best option.
Yeah.
Well, then you start getting into what matchups you wind up with. I think it gets very tricky if you start to play it that way. If I'm the Lakers, I play it that way. I hold out LeBron as long as needed. I don't know if the Knicks could afford to do that because some of these things wind up becoming matchup dependent. I don't know if I were the Knicks, I would do that. All right, let me get to the Cavaliers. The most disrespected team in all of professional sports, guys. Can we just say it? I mean, oh, come on. My God, nobody gives this team any credit. They have the third best odds to win an NBA title right now. I mean, that's insane when you consider what this team's going to win 70 games.
They're not, but I think they could push forward if they wanted to. The one thing I will say that I really like that's happened for them, and we saw it at the end of the Boston game when they beat them, adding DeAndre Hunter has not only given them a 3-and-3 who can play some D, they're playing him at the 4, Evan Mobley at the 5, sitting Jarrett Allen in key stretches, and going smaller, kicking Max Strus out there at the 3 for shooting, and it works. It really works as a lineup, which is what you need in the playoffs, right? If you're going to succeed in the playoffs, you need versatility. You need the ability to win different ways. I think they've got that. I think their problem ultimately is nobody thinks, and me included, I don't think they can beat peak Boston. That's the thing standing in their way.
Speaking of peak Boston, ever since the All-Star break, they played Denver, they've beaten Denver. They played the Knicks, they've beaten the Knicks.
Lakers?
They had a 20-point lead against Cleveland. I think they might have beaten Cleveland before the one time and then beat Cleveland, but they beat Cleveland 2 out of 3. And they just beat the Lakers recently. Tonight, they take on OKC at the Garden. If Boston beats OKC tonight, it's pretty much they're still the favorite in this postseason. Still the favorite. The champs are still the champs.
You're going to have to beat them to do it, and I'll tell you what it was impressive out of that Laker win. Because ABC, I don't know if you know this, sometimes they hype the Lakers a little bit. They obviously were heavy on Luka.
Okay, Charles Barkley. Calm down there.
Yeah. Jason Tatum was the best player on the floor in that game. Jason Tatum was fantastic in that game. He's really stepped up in big moments for them. And when he's on like that, So I think sometimes we just like, oh yeah, he's going to finish third or fourth in MVP, and we kind of sleep on him. Jason Tatum is a great player who has big games like that, and we should. He should get some of the respect that sometimes he just kind of gets dismissed at.
We only have about 60 seconds here, about 45 seconds, real quick. To me, Boston's biggest opponent is Boston. Saw him against the Lakers the other night. They're up 20 going into the fourth, and all of a sudden you turn around. It's a 3-point game. The Lakers are right there.
You still got Luka, LeBron, so that's the thing.
I get it, but they go through stretches where it just looks like they go to sleep.
I think they've been bored with the regular season a little. I think that they've had that championship mentality, but that's the question with the Cavaliers have built good habits all season. Boston hasn't quite built those habits and is trying to flip the switch a little. That's your concern if you're a Celtics fan.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Our time is already done. Where did it go? We're gonna have to start making these 3 segments. I don't know. Start paying you in like Starbucks gift cards or something. I don't know. We're out of time though. I gotta go. I'll see you guys later.
Take care, guys.
All right, welcome back. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap. Odds and Ends wraps it up in about 10 minutes. A little more NBA, kind of, ish. NBA-ish with Vlad here. So Stephen A. Smith, boy, they just can't let it go, man. Just can't squash the beef. You get Stephen A. on the Gilbert Arenas podcast. I don't know what it's called, but in
Gil's Arena.
Yeah, is that what it is? Okay. I was watching it last night, and they asked him about the whole LeBron thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't look. I thought the way he initially handled it on First Take the morning after, I thought that was the right way to go. I actually thought I had no beef, other than the fact that he said one thing that kind of ticked me off. He said, "I could say more, but I'm not going to." Like that one little throwaway sentence is, no, dude, it's First Take. It's your show. You got more to say it. And then he didn't. He wimped out. But then he goes on Gilbert Arenas' pod, and he decides he's going to spend. Oh, there it is. Just Stephen A. sitting there all sullen, and he's about to go off. And he sits there for 4.5 minutes and goes off on LeBron. And then at the end of it, he says, well, I can't say this because, I work for ESPN and it'll be all over the place. Man, stand up and say, don't. He got verbally pistol whipped by LeBron and didn't say didn't say anything back to him. But then you're going to go on Gilbert Arenas' podcast and talk all this ish. And it's like, come on, man. I mean.
Okay, Paige. If you were getting paid by a corporate giant like Disney and you just signed a 5-year, $100 million deal that day that it just publicly came out.
I heard it.
You're going to go off?
You and I both know. So hold on. You and I both know they're not firing him if he goes off.
But I'm just saying, after you literally, Paige, I know you.
Well, if you know me, I would say something because
you would not cause a scene after you just literally, Paige, if you just celebrating with the people that just just gave you that deal, you're not thinking about something like that. But even if you wanted to, you're not thinking about that.
But here's the thing. LeBron caused the scene, not Stephen A.
So then, yes, and as you listen, we all know once your face is on that screen, you're a public figure.
Absolutely.
And if it's repeatedly over on a screen, you're really a public figure. So if you're in that case of Stephen A., look, I'm conflicted because I don't ride no fence. Pause. I don't do that. But I understand LeBron as a father being upset.
Absolutely.
At maybe. But I understand Stephen A.
I agree.
He never badmouthed the kid. And here's the thing. When you do the things that it's reported and it's kind of known that LeBron did in order for Bronny to be a Laker and an NBA player. And yes, this is what people need. This is what I hate about athletes. This is the one thing I hate about athletes. When you say something publicly and then it's brought back to you in a way where, hey, what you said now doesn't look actual fact. When you say Bronny's better than 85% of the players in the league, and then now he's in the league and he's getting his ass bust by players, yeah, they're going to come back and bring that up because of who he is and who you are. But you can't be upset with that. He's a grown man. Once you start making $8 million for 4 years, people can criticize you.
I don't disagree with that. I don't have any issue, and I said this the morning after. I don't have any issue with.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, I know you don't have any issue, but should Stephen A. have responded to Bron right then and there?
If somebody came and confronted me, now look, there is an intimate. LeBron's a foot taller than me. It's a little different,
right?
But if I'm Stephen A. and I'm all that, and I'm willing to go on Gilbert Arenas' pod a few days later and say, you know what? On second hand, I'm gonna puff my chest out.
But okay, the optics look bad because now you've had days after. And everybody knows the story.
Sure.
So does it look like he's puffing his chest and peacocking a little bit? To some it may.
Yeah.
Or
I just wonder if it's over, Vlad.
Or you just may be saying what you really wanted to say, but you didn't. Listen, that boy, I'm going to tell you this one thing about Stephen A. And he repeats this a lot. Once you get fired and you realize you were an outcast and now you're back into the position where you call the shots, you're not going to jeopardize it for anything. Even if it is the influential and known athlete in the game right now. You're not going to do that.
I will tell you this. I don't think this is over.
No, it's not.
And if Stephen A. is courtside again, LeBron going to come and say something again.
I don't think Stephen A. will be courtside. I think for Stephen A., he's going to go through the channels that he probably wanted to go through, which is like LeBron's friends like Maverick Carter or Rich Paul.
I thought it was interesting that Rich Paul was on with Pat McAfee yesterday, and I didn't get to hear the conversation, so I don't know what was said because I can only stand McAfee for a few minutes, and those weren't the few minutes I chose to watch yesterday. But I know Rich Paul was on with McAfee yesterday, and I wonder if those guys, if Rich Paul and Maverick are still talking to Stephen A. after this, or if that pipeline's sort of been cut off.
Yeah, you got that pipeline. You got Richard Jefferson. There's ways. Kendrick Perkins. There's ways.
All right, Odds and Ends wraps up the show here in a couple of minutes. It's Odds and Ends. That's all I can tell you right now. We're coming back with much more. Don't go anywhere. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Tomorrow, we've got a jam-packed show. Bubba Wallace of NASCAR on the program. We will have David Aardsma in his weekly baseball hit with us, former big league reliever, and Patrick McEnroe on the show. Where we're jamming it all in, I have no idea. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. Any podcasting platform, we're on it. So go and check that out today. Also, you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube as well. And without any further delay, it's time for some Odds and Ends, presented by our friends at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there is a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades. You can do it with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. What could be better than that? Save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you can save right now by calling 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362. Our friends at Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code below. Brooks Koepka. I don't think he has any debt. If he does, then he's not spending he's not saving his chicken very wisely, as Marshawn Lynch would say. Save your chicken, Vlad. Save your chicken. Save your chicken.
Yeah, man. It's not the time to go vegan out now.
No, absolutely not. Especially with this economy right now. You ain't gonna do that.
Not the time to go vegan in this economy.
Brooks Koepka is going to fulfill his Live Golf deal. I guess that's good news for Liv, because there is talk that some guy, there has been conversation, John Rahm, there's been some conversation about some of these Liv guys potentially going back or trying to go back to the PGA Tour in this merger that's supposed to happen. And we talked about it with Ryan Ballengee. That just feels like it's never going to happen. But Koepka, reportedly, his contract worth more than $100 million runs through the 2026 season. Liv Golf is in Singapore, I think, this week.
So what was his original deal? 4 years, what?
$100 million.
$100 million. And he got the chance to resign, and he can get another 9-figure contract.
I wonder if he'll get 9 figures again, though. I wonder if the Saudis are just going to keep throwing that money out there at him.
You're not going to take $80 million. You might as well go back to the PGA Tour if you're going to do that. You're going to have to give him 9 figures or more. You're going to give him another $100 million deal or $100 million plus deal. That's the only way Brooks Koepka is going to stay with the Live Tour.
They're probably hoping by that time that the PGA Tour and Live Golf have come to some sort of mutual agreement too.
I mean, I thought that's where they were headed, but that's
what I thought too. 2 years ago, 2 years ago, deal. 2 years ago, they announced the framework of a deal, and it still hasn't happened. Framework.
Well, you know what? Now that Tiger's Achilles all effed up, he could maybe help. Merge.
I don't want to talk about that. It bums me out. It bums me out. Brett Favre is talking. There's the headline. And we're gone. Good night, everybody. Brett Favre is urging Aaron Rodgers to sign with an NFL team by all means necessary.
Which team? Don't tell me it's the Vikings.
I don't know I don't think he was being specific about a team so much as just saying he should sign.
Listen,
Brett Favre is urging him to sign with the Vikings.
Okay, well,
he was on the Will Kane. He was on the Will Kane show apparently, and he said that he's hoping that Rodgers makes the same decision he did, and go from the Jets to the Vikings the way he did.
Hopefully, Aaron doesn't have a Jets employee.
All right, we're talking about the masseuse and Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Basically, he wants him to follow him. He wants him to be Brett Favre Jr. If he goes to the Jets, like Brett Favre did, he went to the Jets like Brett Favre did, and then what? After a year or two, well, it's really a year because that same thing Favre did, even though it was 2 seasons with Aaron, but Aaron only lasted 4 plays the first year. Then had a crappy season. And then what? Go to Minnesota, and then what? Have a great season in Minnesota, take him to the NFC title game, and get bounty gated.
And then
all of a sudden, Aaron can't play anymore.
And then he's going to go retire and allegedly rob money from poor people in Mississippi.
I'm just saying.
Allegedly, by the way, you can't sue me because I said allegedly.
He'll go rob people in Green Bay. He'll go to Green Bay and rob the people in Green Bay. That's what Aaron did. Listen, no. Brett, I've
already said this. If Aaron Rodgers becomes a New York Giant, I will turn that helmet around. I will not root for the Giants as long as Aaron Rodgers is a New York Giant if they sign that man.
And what's nasty is that Aaron Rodgers controls Russell Wilson's future right now.
Isn't that the best? Russell Wilson's just sitting there going, hello? Why is nobody answering the phone? Why does my key card not work?
And it really tells you what people think of these quarterbacks in this stage of their careers at this point.
Yeah, it does. The Browns are an option for either of those guys too, by the way.
So is Kirk Cousins.
But I'm hearing, as of right now, Kirk Cousins stays in Atlanta.
And do what? And back up for $50 million?
Man, they can't trade him. So what are they going to do?
Well, release him.
The guy's just going to keep getting his bag. Well, but I mean, it's insurance.
It's only insurance for what?
In case Penix stinks it up, we got to go.
You can get Jameis for cheaper.
We got to go. Love you, Vlad. Thanks to
Later,
Ryan
bro.
Ballengee. Thanks to Kurt Hill. We'll see y'all tomorrow.